best looking crowd I've ever spoken to. And the reason I say that is because as I look around, I don't think I've seen any of you on people at Walmart.com. What I like about Kids Oneida, you know, when Linda asked me to speak to you guys, I didn't know a lot about Kids Oneida. You know, it's funny because it was ironic. I left the show at Piers and Blake, and I see the sign for Kids Oneida. I have never heard of you guys before, so I apologize for that. But I think I may have seen maybe an ad in the newspaper for a job, employment ad. So then I get the phone call to speak to you guys. So I do some research on the website, and what I found was a couple of success stories, which is very cool. I think there's a lot more success stories than just a couple of them. Maybe they'll post more and more and more because you think you guys have been around since 1998, something like that. So that's very cool. I'm kind of a success story myself because I am not from Utica. I'm from another place. I grew up on the streets. I grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods in the big city, Watertown, New York. Have you heard of it? I grew up in an Italian home, which simply meant my mom was a good cook and my sisters had way too much facial hair. Okay. But the success stories are great. I think there was one on there about a girl who graduated from high school. She went to MVCC and she contacted someone here, and you know they didn't realize that she had gone through the program. Another kid that I think their parents were excited that he graduated high school because you work with kids, so you have like the brunt of stress. I think, you know, it's tough to deal with kids. I have a couple of girls, and I know that they are HM high maintenance. So, and that's my own kids. You're dealing with other people's kids, right, and their families. But what you're doing is very cool because unlike other corporations or organizations, you are making a difference in people's lives, in the lives of those kids. You know, you're making an impact in the lives of those families. So, but what I want to do is I want to ask you a question. Start by asking you a question. Please don't answer the question, just think about it, let it roll around in your mind a little bit. I asked the question to a group last week, and I told them the same thing, don't say anything out loud, and this guy blurts all crack. And I'm like, oh, we're in Utica, right? So, here's a question, what motivates you? What motivates you? Yeah, the answer he gave was crack, okay? I think he was on crack, actually. But think about that for a second, because you know there's many answers to that. What motivates you? It's different for different people because we're all individuals. We have unique handprints, footprints, fingerprints, toe prints. We have a unique DNA. So that answer is going to be different for everybody. What motivates one person is not going to motivate another person. And it's different for different age groups too. What motivates kids is not going to motivate adults, and vice versa. Let me give you some common motivators. Here's a couple common motivators. Fear of discipline. Anybody have a fear of discipline at all? I mean, you work in an environment where you have bosses and stuff. I mean, you want to do a good job because you don't want to get written up or anything, right? And so we still have that fear of discipline. But when you're a kid, you have a fear of discipline. When I was a kid, I was lazy, I was a procrastinator, I was mischievous, I was a storyteller, and I was a pathological liar. I was all those things. So I wasn't the best kid. I turned out okay, but my dad, to motivate me, he would just have to reach for his belt. I'm like, whoa, time out, dude, time out. Can I get a timeout instead of a spanking, you know? So I would like talk my way out of a spanking, and my dad's like, you know how you are as parents, right? The talking's all done. Now it's time for discipline. I'm like, can I finish? Can I finish? I'm like Ross Perot, can I finish? And I would talk my way out of a lot of ball whippings. I really did. So, fear of discipline. My wife and I have kids. It's so funny when you deal with your kids, right? You have all these motivators for discipline. Okay, I'm going to count to 3. It's the longest 3 count in history, isn't it? You're like 1. You better pick up your toys. I'm telling you right now. You going to do it? 2. Right? So funny. Fear of discipline, right? Or you say, I'm going to get a spoon. I mean, I don't know how you guys discipline your kids. But I gotta be careful what I say because, you know, I mean, nowadays you can't discipline your kids like you did before. I mean, it's like, what? Get a spoon. You can't even do that anymore. You gotta give them timeouts or something. But how about this one? My dad would always say, you know, he'd shout from upstairs, don't make me come down there. Don't make me come down there. Or my dad was very good at saying this. You know, you better stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. I'm like, I never understood that until I actually had my kid. I'm like, I'm crying. I already have something to cry about. And now my kids are like crying. My girls are like, it's like Hollywood minute, every minute of my life. I live with 3 women, it's like estrogen fest, okay? So, and it's just a lot of drama, and I'm like, okay, now I understand. Stop crying. I can't take it anymore. I will give you something to cry about. And then, of course, the timeouts. The timeouts. My daughters are so funny because they're 4 and 7. So my daughter knows that she gets a timeout. My 4-year-old, she gets 4 minutes. My other daughter knows that she gets a timeout. It's like 7 minutes. I've almost been put in timeout by my wife. Okay, it's like, Dad, you get 47-minute timeout. So I behave. So that is a motivator, though. Fear of discipline motivates us. So you're working with kids. Cannot be easy. Like I said, it's got to be stressful. Kids are hive agents, but here's the thing with you guys: the rewards are awesome. The success stories. I'm sure there are, like I said, more and more and more success stories. Linda, that they need to post on the website. Okay, not just 2 success stories, like tons of success stories, because you can't argue someone's testimony, right? That's one thing you can't argue. You can argue a lot of things. You can argue opinions, but you cannot argue someone's testimony. So. I'm actually going to pull a verse out of the Bible. It's very cool because I've heard it so many times. Train a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from you. And I think that what you guys are doing is you're intervening in kids' lives, in families' lives, and you are kind of molding them, through the different programs. You're mentoring them, and you're actually training them in a way that they should go. Like, to see success stories, that is a great reward, isn't it? Isn't it all worth it? It is. Great people will always want to make a difference. Think about that for a second. And the great thing is, the good news is there's greatness in every one of you. You want to make a difference. That's why you're here. That's why you take a job. And it's funny because when you take a job, and you get a new job, you're always like excited. It's fresh and it's new. Hey, thanks to the guy for coming. the odds are with you, man. The odds are for you. Okay. I was talking about the newness and the freshness of the job. So, but after a while, you work with some coworkers. There's not as much camaraderie as you thought there was. The organization's goals don't line up with your goals. But you know what? And you start to get stressed out. You start to get burnt out. Anybody ever feel burnt out? I see some heads nodding. Nobody's saying anything. They're just like, just nodding their heads. You can get burnt out because, let's face it, you work a job every day. Every day. So you're like, the weekend's here. You love the weekend. You're going to go to a party at a friend's house, right? You're going to have, good fellowship and all that. And then here comes Monday morning. You're like, drudgery, right? So, but here's the cool thing, is there's greatness in you. And that greatness, I think, can come to the surface. And it can really compel you to submit to authority. It can compel you to have a servant's heart. I think you guys do have a servant's heart because you're here. Why else would you be here? Why else would you be at Kids Oneida? There's better things that you can do. It can compel you to get along with your coworkers and promote camaraderie. So, and I know, listen, working a job, working at a company like this, I think there's 80 employees or something like that. It's like a dysfunctional family sometimes, isn't it? My wife and I go to our family reunion in the summertime, and I call it Dysfunctional Fest 2012 or whatever the year is. It's like a dysfunctional family, but you know what? It's like we are creatures of change, and when we are dealing with stuff, we are the ones that need to just look inside ourselves and go, what do I need to change about me? Because when you have you in your goals, and your company and their goals, and you kind of like bring them together, that's where the magic happens. It's like Disneyland, okay? The happiest place on earth. Because your job should be a home away from home. I mean, do you love coming to work? I'm looking at faces. Okay. How about this? How about you love coming to work? You love coming to work. You love to escape. You love what you do. That's a cool thing. That's a cool thing. There are some people that love their job, and some people that think it's drudgery. So, but if you give 100% of yourself every day, and say, I'm going to leave it all here. Like in the football movies, right? They have these football movies where, these guys, they're like, leave it all on the field, right? play your heart out. When you work your heart out, because like I said, the rewards are awesome, and you leave it all here, I think you'll feel fulfilled. Because money will keep a person at the job. I did some research on money motivation and work motivation. Money will keep a person at his job in most cases, but you need more. You need a sense of purpose, we need an accomplishment. So if you have those three things, what is your purpose? Well, I think the mission is to keep kids in their homes and to educate the kids and their families. So you're actually keeping the family unit together, which is a good thing. So there's purpose in what you do. It doesn't matter what, you could be the janitor of this place and you're still making a difference because you're serving Kids Oneida. You have bosses, you have coworkers, and you're promoting this, and it's such a great thing. I mean, you guys have been in existence for, 14 years? So I don't know how many people you've impacted. I mean, now you have Kids Herkimer, and you're doing a little bit of stuff in Madison County, I heard, something like that. That's very cool. So give 100% of yourself, leave it all here, and I think you guys will be fulfilled. Sense of purpose, meaning, accomplishment. Do you guys feel like you accomplished things? Yeah, that's a good thing. I like that.